into, because one thing that Ron brought up was, what do I need to have in a bot? And what I learned early on is that everything that you can put into a bot doesn't necessarily mean that or everything that could be done in a bot doesn't need to be in the bot, or every feature that you could put into a bot doesn't mean that you should actually put it into there. And I found that whatever law, I think it's like Arkham's razor, I don't know, there's some smart people law that says that basically the simplest answer is usually like the right one. And what I found is that with chatbots, oftentimes people, they don't realize that it really comes down to three things, right? It really comes down to three simple concepts. And the first is, how do we get people subscribed to it? So let me hop over here into my Chatfield dashboard. And so when we think about bots, what's beautiful about them is there is so many ways in which you can get someone subscribed and into your bot, right? If you think about their email, or even if you think about their cell phone number, if you wanted to get someone onto some form of a follow-up list, some form of communication, they either had to type in their phone number, they had to go to your website and submit their information. It was a very, it was just a very, I don't want to say arduous because it's not, but there was a lot of friction in that process. And now what's great about chatbots specifically is that almost all of that friction is removed, right? If you think about a typical Facebook ad, right? This is one of my biggest selling points to obviously digital marketers who get it, and any business who is already doing any form of email marketing. If they can understand this concept, then it's going to be a game changer for them. Because on a typical Facebook ad, right? Someone's running a typical funnel. They click on the ad. That's one button click with their finger, right? Now they have to wait for the website to load. Then they scroll through that, right? And then usually there's a button, or they have to click again to start typing their email. And then they have to type their whole email address, at least, right? Like think about that. And my last name, okay, I have 12 letters in my last name. So my email address is like 20 characters, right? It's like H, whatever, right? So the email address that I used for the longest time was 20, sometimes even longer if it was a kind of a different, I've had some emails that I absolutely dreaded typing in because it was so long. So now we're talking 25 interactions, right? For, on average, let's say someone like me, right? It could be up to 25 interactions. Well, if we take that, and all of a sudden we can now, with our chatbot, when someone comes in off of a Facebook ad, we can now take that, and instead of being 25 clicks, can be 2 clicks and they're subscribed, can be 3 clicks and you have their cell phone number. All of a sudden you've taken that friction, that process, and and now it's cut in tenth, right? It's 1/10 of what it was before. And you also not only have them on Facebook Messenger, but you can also get their phone number and their email address as well. So when marketers understand this, they all of a sudden realize that Facebook ad that was worth, that they were getting leads at for, $5, those same leads, that same ad is now worth 50 cents, right? That's 50 cents a lead as opposed to $5 a lead, just because there's so much less friction. Not to mention that when you run, messenger ads, you're competing in a different, bidding class and bidding section. So you're not bidding with all of the people running normal funnels. Those are like a ton of other things, but just in that, and the fact that someone can now click 2 buttons and then they can get subscribed, right? If you can help people to see how easy it is for people to get subscribed to your bot, they're going to open up to the process, right? Open up to the idea. So also, like, if you think about what are the other ways, right? Well, maybe I don't know how to run Facebook ads. Okay, well, you can install it on their website, right? There's the little chat widget that goes on the bottom there, right? You can create easily, I love that these bot platforms are creating landing pages, right? Or you can even just create a link. So helping them to understand that it's really simple, but every time you create a bot for a client, you're always gonna have to get them and figure out and really dial in. A big part of it is, how are you getting people subscribed to it? Are you building a link? Are you adding it to a landing page, creating your own kind of separate landing page, driving people to the Facebook page, and then there's obviously some other ways like the comment growth tool and other things that you can do like that. However, the first thing that you have to make sure that you understand is the how to get people subscribed. The second thing though is what I call the furniture, right? You want to have the information and the data here in the bot. So the second thing is what things is the user going to interact with when they come into the bot. And what's great is that you can have them come into like the start here, and then everybody can kind of go through the same experience. Sorry for the sirens, guys. But you could have them do that. Or what I do recommend is that each person, right, each industry, if I'm running an agency and I'm going after different industries, I want to make sure that every industry has their own unique experience. So I have a real estate flow, right? A real estate skill, a real estate block, whatever you want to call it, that is specifically for real estate agents. And so if I'm prospecting a real estate agent or I'm sending it to a real estate agent, I'm not going to talk about just general things. I'm going to talk about how it directly applies to their industry. Similar with a fitness gym, right? I want to actually show them specifically what it's going to do for their business. And so when you guys are, one of the biggest things, the biggest changes that you can make when you're prospecting is don't just make a general demo bot that says, hey, I'm a chatbot. Look how cool I am. I'm on Facebook Messenger. I do this. No one gives a shit. What they do care about is how can it apply to their business and what is it going to do for their business? And obviously you can build those features and you can build those qualities into the bot so that they still understand that it can collect phone numbers. They still understand that it's an engaging experience. They still understand that they can send links, that they can deliver pictures, they can send it. They still understand that, but most importantly, that they understand how it applies specifically to them. And so when you're creating this, what I call the furniture of the chatbot, like the inside, you're staging the inside of the bot, like you would stage the inside of a house. You want to make sure that they have an experience that's meant for them. And so what I would encourage you to do is, if you don't know, right, at the very beginning, create an opportunity for you to find out. So if you are like, well, how am I supposed to know? Well, what you can do is just ask people, right? It's like, hey, thanks for subscribing. I'm not going to type the whole thing, but thanks for subbing. What industry are you in? And you give people options, right? And you give people choices. And now you're able to tailor that specific experience to them. And what I would encourage you to do is, here's just a little advanced tip, okay? If you want to give people choices, use what are called quick replies, right? Quick replies for choices, okay? Choice one, choice two, okay? If you want to give people destinations or places that they can always go back to, okay, use buttons, all right? Buttons are things that you can use to always, are what we call permanent. Okay, they're always gonna be there. And quick replies are what we call ephemeral, and they're gonna go away, right? So the difference is that they click choice one over choice two, you don't want them to go back and hit choice two if they are actually choice one. And so what a lot of rookie and amateur bot builders is, they'll just put everything in a button, but then what you have is it still stays up there. So if you have choice two up here, then what's going to happen is they're going to, they're going to hit the first button, and then they're going to go back and go, well, what happens if I hit the second button? And it ruins the experience. And so make sure that you understand just those basic kind of things of, how do I now create this experience, this internal experience for my subscriber, right? Because what I'm doing here is I want to get them, right? My goal is not just to get a subscriber. Here's the thing, the biggest thing you'll learn selling chatbots, building chatbots, all this. Here's the biggest thing is that nobody gives a shit about subscribers. Like, nobody cares. No business owner, like, only people who care about subscribers. I love when people post their little graphs of how many crash subscribers they have, or and it's just funny to me because it's so short-sighted, and it shows me that that person isn't making as much money as they could. Even if they are making money, that if they're focusing on that subscriber number and not the actual conversion number, that they're not going to be making as much as they can. I'm sorry about the siren. Or they're not going to be making money as long as they could be. So what you really want to focus on is, how do I move these people towards my follow-up and conversion, right? And so you've got a few different ways to convert somebody in a bot, because things are sold different ways, right? And there's really only 3 ways that you can sell it. So you want to figure out, what are you moving people towards? The first way that you can sell something is you can sell something in person or over the phone one-on-one, right? This is one of the oldest ways to be able to sell. And the reason that it's one of the oldest, and not only because it doesn't require as much technology, but it's also the most effective. It's just the most effective, right? To be able to talk to someone one-on-one, to be able to handle their concerns, handle their questions. And so a lot of people, they think that a chatbot is going to do all of the selling for them. What you actually want to do in these instances where people sell in person or over the phone, or where it's a one-to-one setting, like real estate, like mortgage, like high-ticket coaching, like these premium medical packages. All of these things are done when you're talking to somebody. All of these things are done when you're actually in person with somebody. And so being able to expedite that, right? That doctor, you're not going to ever do as good of a job of selling that medical package as that doctor or that dentist or whatever. So your job in that instance is to find all of the people in your subscribers who are ready and willing at that moment to now have that conversation with that doctor. So if you can create those conversations and facilitate those conversations, you don't need anything else. Like it doesn't matter what else your bot can do, because that's all that business is going to care about. And sure, you can build in some cool features, and sure, you can build in some cool different things, but ultimately your number one thing that you should be focusing on is, how do I take these subscribers and how do I find the ones who are excited about this particular thing and are willing to give me their information to follow up with them, and how do I get that information now to my client, right? That's all you want to be focusing on. The second thing is, maybe you need to get them to show up to an event, right? A lot of people do this. Real estate, a lot of people sell through live events, and so getting people to show up to a seminar, getting people to show up to an open house, getting people to show up somewhere is a great thing that you can do with a bot, because you can get them subscribed, you can send them reminders, you can send them follow-ups, you can send them directions, you can send them all of these different things that actually get someone to show up. If you don't know, people are lazy, okay? And I ran a sales business for quite some time, and working in that industry and just talking to other recruiters and managers, what they find is that on average, right, 50% of people don't show up to their job interviews, right? So if you think about it, if someone doesn't have a job or needs a job, and only half of them actually show up to their job interview for whatever reason, think about how much you're going to have to work to get someone to show up to whatever you're trying to get them to show up to, right? It's usually not as compelling as someone who needs a job and showing up to a job interview. And so what that says is that you just need to work to get people to show up. Just because they come in, they click, they say they want to go, doesn't mean that they're actually going to go. And so the bot can provide value in that and getting people to show up. Or if it's an online webinar or whatever it is, right, that event part is another way that the bot can provide value. So maybe your goal is to actually get them there. And then the last thing is obviously selling through a website or delivering some sort of funnel or some way to buy, online. There are places, there are things where people in the price range or in the, if it's a particular market, who are willing to spend whatever money through just the website. And what's great about that is the bot can deliver the link there. The bot can actually capture their email and send the link to their email address. The bot can capture their phone number. And so just understanding, what is my goal? What am I trying to do? And how can I just make the simplest bot that can do that? And a lot of times that will require, hey, I need the bot to go out and call the subscriber. I need the bot to create this custom website. I need the bot to do all these kind of cool, advanced, integrated things. But what's important to focus on is, how am I getting people subscribed? what are they going to interact with when they're there, and what's important for them? What's that experience like for them? How can I create that experience for them? And the last thing is, how do I follow up and convert these people into whatever I'm trying to do, right? However I'm trying to help the business, by either getting their phone number and creating an appointment, by getting them to show up somewhere, or by actually getting them to a sales page and getting them to put in their information on the sales page as well. So Ron, that was kind of like a top level idea of what are the things that I need to do, and then your job as a marketer, as a developer, as this provider, is to go into your tool shed, which we'll kind of talk about maybe next. I think we got some time to talk about what are my different options and what are my different ways in which I can accomplish those things.